I love it.
Also, and this is just a FYI, it's a PSA.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, if I'm pulling in $500,000 and you got 38,000 on the books, king. Sorry.
So one of my biggest struggles is that I've always worked harder. I've been the breadwinner, or I've been more stable, and they've been great people and they maybe have ambition. I don't know if you can have the J and B relationship where both of y'all are super busy and you make time for each other. Like, someone's got to be the more submissive or the one that's going to sacrifice.
But I think that if you can, within a relationship, be able to identify the role, to your point, that a woman does play with, like, and that has value, equivalent to monetary value of being able to maintain a home, raise children.
It's like, just because you have money doesn't make you a leader. So it's like, let's just be realistic. I also see relationships that work where, you know, the roles have reversed, meaning like the woman is the breadwinner. I don't think that means the expectations in terms of, like, I still expect protection from you.
Do you have a type in a guy?
I would love to be someone's partner, not someone's mother, if they don't come from my ovaries, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not on dating apps because I like the idea of someone having the courage enough to approach me in person. It's the reason why when I do start like seeing somebody, I tend to not go on their Instagram and stuff like that. I don't really want to know you through what you post.
Have you found yourself in those situations in your career where you had to kind of choose, or maybe that pressure of choosing between either your integrity or your dean or in your career?
Assalamu alaikum, Chill fam. Welcome to Nikah and Chill. I am so excited to have you guys with me. I got two comedians with me today. We have Moses the comic and Zainab Johnson. Moses is going to be guest hosting with me today. We're going to be talking to Zainab about your journey, getting a little tea on that.
I don't want to have kids until it's too late. I want to get one in right in the last inning on the bottom of the ninth. I want them to print it in the papers. I want them to be like, Zainab Johnson had a kid and it was a medical miracle. We had to send her eggs to the moon.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Zainab Johnson. As you said, I'm a comedian, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and I'm like an all around pretty great individual in this world.
Yes. Yes. And also, if you could just say if you're single or not. That's what I meant.
Oh,
yes.
That stuff. I am. I am currently single. Yes.
Yeah. And Moses is not. You guys already know from the interview that we did with your newlywed wife, who is now pregnant. Tell us about that. How's she cooking? How's it going?
Listen, she's cooking. She third trimester, 5 months in. So she's cooking. She's currently in London right now. So I'll be going to see her soon, inshallah. So we're excited about this. Number 3 for me. So, you know, I'm done.
And number 1 for her.
Number 1 for her.
And do we know girl or boy? Do we know?
A little girl. Her name's Nora.
Nora.
Yeah, inshallah, Nora. Yeah,
nice.
So
okay.
September 6th, 4th, 6th, you know, whenever it comes. But
that's amazing. That's amazing. Zainab, do you want kids?
I would like children, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in no rush to have them. I actually froze my eggs.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I know that's.
I thought about that.
To do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I froze my eggs, which is more unpopular than I realized amongst, I guess, the cultural groups that I fit in, and by that I mean Black women. By that I mean Muslim women. It was much more taboo than I thought. I thought that I was like a modern woman, you know, but I got stairs. But yeah, so I do want children. I think that 3 is my magic number as well. I mean, you know, 3 is sunnah. So I like 3.
3 is a good number.
Yeah, yes. 3 is a good number.
I have to know what's your I know you get this question probably all the time, but we got to know what your comedy Mount Rushmore is. But people always ask, maybe just to interchange it. I would like a man Mount Rushmore and a female comedian Mount Rushmore, because we got our great comedians as well. But who would you put in your top 5 for male and female?
Definitely
top
Eddie
3.
Murphy.
Top 3.
Eddie Murphy, Wanda Sykes.
Yes.
And I'd probably say Dave Chappelle. Of course, I'd say Dave Chappelle.
What about you, Moses?
So for me, I guess I always go off of the generation, because I love Eddie Murphy, love the Richard Pryor. And what I think is great about within Black comedy is like each decade, I guess, had their guy. That was their generation. You had, the Flip Wilson, and you had, Richard Pryor in the 70s, and the 80s was Eddie Murphy. For me, my generation, the man that wanted me that influenced me to be a comedian was Martin Lawrence. My very first comedy special that I saw was You So Crazy in '94. Shouldn't have been in the movie seeing it. My big brother took me. And I saw that and was like, I want to do that. That reaction that was elicited from what he was doing, I wanted to create that. So Martin Lawrence is definitely, I think, number 1 for me. I love me some Monique now. I know she get it bad. I love me some Monique. I just think she's thorough. Yeah. She's dope. I love her.
She's got a lot of heart. She's real. She's honest. That's why we love her. But those type of people, because of that honesty, because of that a little too raw and genuine, it can be controversial. Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to put Dave up there just because he's the GOAT. And my last pick probably be Seinfeld. I love Jerry Seinfeld because there's something so simplistic. The same reason why I grew up loving Sinbad and Cosby and them. There's something so simplistic about just the everyday mundaneness, the humor that you can find in everyday situations and scenarios, and to do it without profanity, I always thought was just so masterful. I think a lot of that, you've got Ron G, and, of Today and Time, and different people that I have so much admiration for, because if you can make people, cursing is funny. We all, good Tom F-bomb is funny, but to make people laugh and find nuance in everyday things, which I think Seinfeld is just a master at, I'm influenced by that.
Hey my loves, I'm here to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, which is representations of Muslims in television and movies. We definitely need more of it, and that's why I'm here, because Muslimah's Guide to Marriage is out right now. It's definitely so hysterical. You need to go on their Instagram, check out that trailer, watch that movie, get those tickets and watch that movie, and support more Muslim people in movies, okay? Especially people of color. And look at this, look at the merch. Can we talk about how amazing this t-shirt is? It's so powerful. I feel like it says everything I wanted to say. I'm gonna show you guys the trailer right now so you can check it out. Enjoy. Go see it.
It's always been Muslimah and Musa.
You cannot hide this divorce forever, Muslimah. As soon as Yora dies, Candace is converting to Islam before we get married.
As long as I can keep Christmas.
Absolutely. Ooh, there we go.
The scroll of Epiphany is the litany of the lessons that I have.
Salam 5150. Look at Miss Orange is the new black.
I'm sure the whole masjid knows by now. Thanks, Kareem.
What? You think she told somebody?
So you know Khadijah's running around telling everybody that Musa divorced you, and Kareem had to bail you out of jail with your dowry money.
That's ridiculous.
Have you talked to Musa?
Yesterday we had dinner together.
Well, that's a start.
Here I see that Musa finally let you put some of your things up.
He's coming around. Have you read the Hadith where it states that hell is filled with mostly women? Excuse me?
He was snatching people in front of the masjid.
You didn't even have my back.
I have on a dress. You said so yourself.
Hey, tell me, have you seen her?
Muslims don't do drugs.
I'm looking for a believer, a Muslimah. Well, all right now. Well, all right now.
We have 7 days, 14 hours, 36 minutes, and 22 seconds before Allah wants us to reconcile.
Not gonna happen.
Well, then you need to come on down to booty camp, where we will make your...
Oh, look at you! You're like a regular, like a rapper. You went to jail. You might as well drop a mixtape or something.
Muslimah.
Peace. The trailer that you just saw that I posted is to a new movie, Muslimah's Guide to Marriage. I mean, the movie is super amazing. It touches on the whole aspects of like the ups and downs of marriage, plus the rewards of it as well. Go ahead and swipe up now to get your ticket to see this virtual film. And when you screenshot your confirmation receipt, go ahead and DM it to Muslimah's Guide to Marriage, and you'll get a free merch too.
Do you have a type in a guy?
Any guy that I've dated, they've all physically looked different, but I think that the thing that I would look for in a guy is like, I don't know, confident, smart, nice, funny.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. Like, you know, just like responsible for his own life and his own life. Like, I know that sounds weird, but I would love to be someone's partner, not someone's mother, if they don't come from my ovaries, you know?
Yeah. Can he have a range of career wise? Because I've been listening to a lot of different influencers and people talk about, you know, they want a guy, he can't have this certain type of job, you know, B. Simone and Jess Hilarious, everybody, you know. So would you be willing to date a guy that's in entertainment or that's a manager at Target? Or does he have to have, and that's fine, everyone's preference is different.
Yeah, I think that yes, I'm open to it all, right? And by responsible for your life, I mean that you are a fully functioning human being in this world, and you don't, you know, no one is financially responsible for you. No one is emotionally responsible for you. No one is physically responsible for you. And if you're able to achieve that, being the manager at Target, I have no judgment on that. Now, here's the reality, and I think that somebody like a B. Simone or Just Hilarious or fill in the blank. You know, sometimes people say things and the essence of what they're saying is true, but the way that they articulate their thoughts is not as efficient, right?
Gotcha.
And so with women who have those types of careers, it's going to be hard to maintain a relationship with someone unless you're just somebody who can do long distance or distance period. It's going to be hard for you to maintain a relationship with somebody whose schedule does not coincide with yours. Mm-hmm. So an artist that is all in as much as we're calling those women influencers, essentially they're artists, right? Like if the internet went away, what they'd still probably pursue is some form of art, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we all are. It would be a little bit hard for me to be on the road, right? Mm-hmm. And then, or me be in Canada for 4 months and my partner still have to be clocking in somewhere from 9 to 5, mm-hmm. you know? A very close friend of mine who would be considered an influencer at this point, you know, for a very long time, 20 years of her living in LA, her husband, you know, worked a very specific civil servant job. And the moment she blew up, he was able to quit that job because it just doesn't even, now what his next chapter is, he'll discover that, but it just doesn't make sense for him to go in and do that civil, you know, and clock in somewhere. It's just the schedules don't meet up. So when I want to go on vacation with my husband, I also don't want to hear, yeah, I can't leave. You know, I can't leave the Target on first and third.
Yeah, that's been one of my biggest struggles is that I've always worked harder. I've been the breadwinner, or I've been more stable, and they've been great people, and they maybe have ambitions. So, you know, you're patient, and so it's kind of one of those things where, and I also have a dad who's a really hard worker. It's like, I don't know if you can have the J and B relationship where both of y'all are super busy and you make time for each other. Like, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have learned a different maybe experience, but I think it's almost impossible to have both. Someone's got to be the more submissive or the one that's going to sacrifice their time to make time for the other person's schedule. Would you guys agree?
I don't necessarily think is as I guess I wouldn't use the word submissive, but more stable. You know, I've always in my relationships, I'm the entertainer. I don't even like, you know, I say creative. We're creatives because it's an umbrella of things. But, you know, my wife, they've always had more, I guess, traditionally stable jobs or circumstances where it worked. You know, when I'm on the road, I'm on tour. We have the children, so it was definitely easier. So I don't necessarily think it's in a submissive role, because there's been times where, as an entertainer and creative, it's like, if it's slow for us, where I'm the stable one doing that, and she's doing her thing. So I think it's kind of a balance.
As you were speaking, I heard, how you just hear things very specific. I think that hard worker is like a term that's really wide. It's a lot of people that work hard and still may never attain the thing that a person requires to be with them, right? And so I think that what I look for in a man, in terms of his employment, right, is for him to be driven in a way that's career driven, not job driven, right? And so I think that's the thing that may make a person not be attracted at a certain point in their life to somebody who is a manager, let's say, quote unquote Target. And I just want to say I love Target. So
I love me some Target now.
But I think that that's the difference, like, because you want somebody who is like working. I don't want to say working towards
passionate.
Something.
Not just clocking in a 9 to 5.
Yeah, but here's the thing. People got to clock in a 9 to 5. Like, no, nobody aspires to be the janitor, but people got to clean up.
But could you be with someone who's like, it is a 9 to 5 right now, I'm a janitor, even though maybe it's not my passion? Could you be with someone who's, you know what I'm saying? At least he's still bringing in 50%, but that's just it.
I really could. I really could. I think that, because I'm all about the person, and I think don't get me wrong, okay?
Yeah.
When there's anything that's like not ideal on someone's like list of characteristics, you can't have a bunch of things that's not ideal, right? Yeah. You can't be mean, you can't be lazy, clock into a 9 to 5. Have a record, drink alcohol. You know what I'm saying? You can't have, it's like, that's too much for me to take on from you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're a fully flawed person. I don't feel like you're being a responsible person in this world, Yeah. But I think that if a man is respectful, sets his intentions, makes you aware of his intentions, is, healthy, it has some sort of plan for his life, and makes you very aware of what that plan is and how he sees you in that plan. And that plan may start at being the manager at Target, and it, inshallah,
goes into a franchise maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're definitely going on dates. Like, absolutely.
I love that you're open-minded, and at least you understand the importance of flexibility and negotiation, and at least compromise,
Yeah.
I think it's an important thing.
Yeah.
Well, to jump right into this icebreaker game, it's called Which Would You Rather? I'll give you 2 options, and you just tell me which one you'd rather.
Okay.
Be stuck in an elevator with your soulmate or your crush. Your celebrity crush, by the way.
Be stuck in the elevator with my soulmate.
Period. Who's your celebrity crush, though?
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown. You're like,
Chris
okay. But
I've had another celebrity crush, but now he's like, I know him, so it's just like, So
what is he? Can we know who he was?
No.
Okay.
No, because now I know him. So yeah.
Okay. Live on a deserted island with your family and never meet your soulmate, or with your soulmate and never see your family. Deserted island, can't get off the island. You gotta pick one.
Okay, because I'm a creature of habit, I would probably say deserted island with my family, because I know all the stuff that they bring. Soulmate sounds like, just because somebody is your soulmate, I don't know. Okay. Does soulmate mean that they're perfect, like y'all get along? Because I feel like you have soulmates, but that doesn't. And the thing you don't end up in relationships with your soulmate.
And that's the thing, is that it always is up to interpretation, because I believe that you can have a soulmate that's your best friend. I have a best friend who is totally my soulmate. So maybe it's that. But I think for this specifically, it would be romantic. It would be someone that you're married. I would hope that you marry someone who's your soulmate, even if they're not perfect,
Yeah, okay. So if it's my soulmate in the way that I idealize my soulmate, then I would choose my soulmate.
Okay. I kind of like family as well, though, just because it's true. Like, you know your family, you know what to expect.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get. The soulmate, y'all probably going to start, having sex. Y'all probably will have kids, and then who knows how y'all going to raise a kid on a deserted island. I'm just
And then
saying,
you start your family anyway.
Yeah.
Unemotional protector or someone who can't fight but is vulnerable.
someone who someone who can't fight but is vulnerable. Because the thing that I can do is I can make sure that we are never in a situation where he has to fight. But I need him to be vulnerable.
That's important. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Dream career job or dream wedding?
Dream career job. Sorry, was that too easy?
We see which is more. We get it. We're focused out here. Okay. Discover a new planet or invent a cure for a deadly disease.
Invent a cure for a deadly disease. But what if the invention of the cure is on that undiscovered planet? You see how my mind works? Do you see how my mind works?
It's options. We have to be optimistic. We have to analyze. We get it.
I would definitely want to cure, create the cure for a deadly disease.
Okay. Go back in time and still have all the knowledge you have today, or know the future from today. Look, Moses is like, what would I choose?
Oh, Moses, you haven't played this game?
I'm in my head. I'm playing it as well.
That's the toughest one. Because everybody wants the cheat code to a test, but
right.
There's a book that reminds me of that question. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Love the power of now.
But just thinking about how, he talks about how we become defined by our past, which is things we can't change. And then we get fixated on the future, which is things that are interchangeable by things we do in the present, in the now.
Yes.
And so that's very introspective, that question.
And you know what? Back to the future me. Give me the atlas. I'm Biff. Negro, whatever.
There you go.
Would you rather marry an American or a foreigner?
I don't.
Have you ever met or maybe had interest in someone who wasn't so Americanized, or maybe someone who came from another country?
Yeah, the last person I dated was not American.
Okay. Did you find a difference? Yeah. Was there a difference? I've also talked to a North African, and it was very different experience. Someone who's from a Muslim country, grew up in a Muslim country, very different from the guys here. And I actually here.
So I didn't. I felt but this may have been very specific to this guy, but he was from West Africa, Muslim country, but very judgmental. Okay. And I did not like that. I did not like that at all.
Wow. That's interesting. I'm married to a Black British, and I've seen no difference.
Yeah. I guess some of the questions will reveal. I probably will always deal with the demon that I know. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I think I choose an American. I know what I'm getting with America.
Hot and broke, or rich and not so hot?
Rich and not so hot.
Travel for work, or a stay-at-home husband?
Travel for work.
All right. Okay. Look, you like, now I have to putting things in perspective today. These might be the first times you ever asked these questions. Okay.
Listen, as entertainers, I'm very fascinated by our identities, and I know just, as you've been, and I've been doing this for 10 years or however long you've been doing it. But one thing that I've seen is sometimes we start to become pigeoned or defined, by some of our identities. Right. And so it's like as a Black Muslim female comedian, for example, as a Black male female comedian, have you ever found yourself male comedian, Black? Exactly. I mean, listen, it's 2021. Okay. No judgment. But balancing like those identities, I started out in mainstream, I guess, quote unquote, mainstream comedy, and the factory and the store and all of that stuff, and the Laugh House, and Torn, and within, I guess, quote unquote, mainstream. And then I had my sectors where I went off into, I guess, the quote unquote Muslim community and sector, but just kind of balancing that, and it made me think about it because I know, one year when you did the Penny and Pill tour, the Wallah, she's funny, and then you do like mainstream. So do you find like balancing between those identities of being a Muslim, a female comedian, and also being in mainstream?
The moment I started comedy, one of the first things that I think one of my first jokes was I'm Muslim. Declaration rather was that I was Muslim. And so I've never shied away from talking about that. But when I did Wallah, She's Funny, I felt much more comfortable talking about it only because I didn't have to teach while I spoke. And I had a really, really good time on stage exploring my Muslim identity. So much so that it made me want to bring it into my actual act. And now that I'm getting back out there, it causes a little bit of anxiety because I feel like I'm going to have to figure out as a comedian how to convey certain things to an audience that probably isn't familiar really with Islamic faith or culture. And so that seems like a difficult task to me. I feel like I'm going to fail at first, like that's what comedy is. At first you try and then and so I have a little bit of anxiety around that, but the thing that will make sure that I do it is at the end of it, I know I'll have a product that I'm proud of. And what I don't want to do is, in my expression, when I put out my first hour, I don't want it to be lacking a part of me in any way. I don't want to have to lean on my Black American culture. I don't want it to be a skimmed joke of my Muslim background. I want to really be able to delve into it because it affects everything. It really influences every single aspect of my life. In some places bigger than others. There's certain things, there's times where I get auditions and I have to ask myself like, yeah, this would be pretty cool, but do I not want to take a part? Do I not want to even go out for a part that requires nudity because I'm a modest woman, because I'm a Muslim woman, because I'm insecure about my body? You know what I'm saying? Like I got to figure out which one. So it's always some aspect of my conversation. And so I am only interested in making sure that I bring my Muslim identity into my act. I don't really want it to be a mainstream versus a not. I want for everyone, because I also feel like it's teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like part of me is like, I don't need to go to a bunch of Muslim women and tell them about being Muslim. They know. Mm-hmm. People who need to know are the people that have this very small skewed idea of what they see on CNN, Fox News, NPR. You know what I'm saying? They have a very small report on, and just to understand that our experience, that even being a Muslim person is not monolithic.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've always been very motivated along those lines from like Russell Peters, for example, because he was one of the ones from my generation, at least, that I saw kind of make that switch and have that duality between bringing people into his culture, mainstream, I guess, into his culture, right? And I remember I remember reading a story during the Richard Pryor days where a lot of people don't know, Black people love Richard Pryor now, but there was a period where 80% of his fan base was white America, right? And they asked him, why did white people support him so much? And he said, I put white people in a protected vehicle and take them on this safari through the hood, through Black culture, through all of his different nuances. And he described comedy as tragedy viewed from across the street. And so I think just being a Muslim comedian, one of my goals has always just been, or just being a comedian who's Muslim or what have you, has been to kind of bridge that gap and bring people into my culture, mainstream and non-Muslim, where the set that I will do at a Muslim banquet is the same set that I'll go do at the Comedy Store, and being able to kind of bridge that gap. So, I think that's when you can kind of marry the two, I think that's powerful.
I think for me, what I realized when I did the Wallah, She's Funny is that there's a shorthand, right? So in a room full of Muslims, and if I say I'm dating, that's going to be a very specific reaction, right? And so, I was headlining the tour, and I had never done. It's two things that I did. I don't do churches, and I do Muslim shows, because I felt kind of like out of place at both. And I remember the first show, I said something, and the audience had their reaction, which I forget would be their reaction. And I said, astaghfirullah, right? And then I said, and I said, well, listen, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say that so that y'all know that I know y'all think I'm wrong. But we're gonna pretend like we ain't out here dating. So every time I say something y'all want to hear, I'm gonna just say astaghfirullah. And so it kind of helped with them get on board with the things that I was saying, right? There's not going to be that same shorthand with a
mainstream audience.
Yeah, with the mainstream audience. And that's okay. I'm just saying, I know I'm going to have to go through the hardship of figuring out how to connect it for them as quick as possible, because what you can't do is laugh at something you don't understand. Right. It's impossible.
It's different journeys to the same destination. To your point, certain shorthands that we would use in those audiences that they would get, and vice versa. Certain things, and I've even seen that when, as far as performing internationally, certain words that those first few shows, things is falling on deaf ears because the nuances and things that they're not understanding. So you said something earlier that kind of brought me to that next question too, is being in those situations. Have you found yourself in those situations in your career where you had to kind of choose, or maybe that pressure of choosing between either your integrity or your deen or in your career?
Today's So Chill sponsor is Stay Covered. Stay Covered is your one-stop shop for your favorite ways to stay easy, breezy, beautiful, and covered. From covered dresses, bikinis for swimming, and even muslimah accessories, Stay Covered and Nikah and Chill has got you covered. Because when you use code Nikah and Chill, you'll get 25% off. Make sure to follow Stay Covered on social media now at STAE_covered and shop_STAE covered. For more ways to chill, subscribe to Nikah and Chill everywhere and help us support small and Muslim businesses alike.
Have you found yourself in those situations in your career where you had to kind of choose, or maybe that pressure of choosing between either your integrity or your deen or in your career?
Not yet. Not yet. I was going to say, and I don't think that I'll have to. I mean, I think that everything that I do and get and accomplish, I think it's all Allah's will, So I don't even think that I'm put in situations really to have to decide, you know what I'm saying? Like something that's so lacking in it, because again, like I said, earlier, it's like I don't just have to choose. Like some things aren't. Sometimes I'm thinking like, is this an issue because I'm Muslim? Is this an issue because I'm a Black woman? Is this an issue because I'm an older sibling? There's so many things, and they all are the same. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be, regardless of what I believe and what I do, I want to be okay with myself when I go to sleep at night, when I look at the mirror, And I know a lot of that foundation does have to do with, with my faith. But I also, don't think that I'll be put in many positions where it's so, you know what I'm saying? I don't think I'll ever have to choose between $1 billion and Allah. I don't think I'll ever have to do that.
Right. Inshallah. Yeah. Do you feel that, have you ever even had maybe a reaction from your family that made you feel that you were at a dynamic that maybe they felt that you weren't finding that balance between Islam and your career at all?
Only my immediate family are Muslim. My entire family is Christian.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah. My parents converted apart from one another. They met one another when they were younger, got married, raised a bunch of Muslim children. Some of my siblings now aren't even Muslim. I have one brother who's Catholic, actually.
Okay.
So I don't think that I do anything for them to react a certain way. You know,
I
I'm kind of like one of the good kids.
Yeah, you are. You are. You definitely are. And same for me. I mean, just being in entertainment, alhamdulillah, my immediate family, very supportive, but it comes from my dad's whole side being non-Muslim and my mom's whole side being Muslim. But honey, my mom's whole side, there is they all cover, and you know, there's this level of because they didn't grow up in the era that we did, and it was also even just more traditional of you should be married by now and that sort of thing. I think that you know, sometimes it's hard to find the balance, I guess, of pleasing everyone, which is, it's so great that you actually know, like, you know what, I am one of the good kids. I feel the same way a lot of times. I'm like, you guys, like how you explain, like just being offered roles where it's like clearly having to sacrifice something, you know, whether it's nudity or whether it's just even portraying, even though it's just business, a character that maybe y'all don't understand, but really this is just me portraying a character that maybe I don't even relate to. So yeah, I understand how it's trying to always have to, I guess, maybe pick what makes more sense to even your own soul.
And I think this was very hard for me in dating the foreigner. I have never been I have never been the type of person that allowed what your family thinks and wants for you to do. That doesn't hold weight with me. You know how people are like, I'm doing this because my mom wants me to do this. I'm living this type of life to not to, and maybe I got that from my parents because maybe their act of rebellion or their one independent thing they did was convert to Islam, you know, which their parents didn't agree with that. Their family didn't agree with that or accept that. But if they hadn't, then I probably, maybe I wouldn't be Muslim today. So I am not, and I do have, in terms of like, forget Target, forget a man working at Target. It's going to be harder for me to date you if, or be your partner if you are victim to the restraints of your family, you know, beholden to what your family wants you to do. That doesn't exist in I love my family. I talk about them all the time, but I am in no way, shape, or form living my life according to, you know, what's going to please my mother the most. I remember when I was very young, I was sitting in a movie theater with my father, and I can't remember what we watched, but the actress was nude, like at least topless or something like that. And I told my father, and I remembered this like recently, like this, my father's passed away for like 10 years now. So I remembered this very recently. And I remember telling him, I think I'm gonna be an actor. And he was like, okay, you know, like not really, like, you know, just brushed it off, right? And I was like, well, if I'm an actor, you know, I might have to be on camera nude. And I was like I was a young kid, like probably not even like 12 years old. But I was always somebody who like tested the boundaries, not because that's really how I feel, but because I want to have a critical conversation with you about this thing, right? And my father immediately said, no, you're not going to be nowhere nude. And I was like, but if I'm an actress and the character, you know, requires nude, and he was like strict, like, no, there's no way that's happening. And I was like, but isn't it a reflection of real me? Because what I've never liked is the because I told you so. That's never computed with me. So I've always baited people for a critical conversation because I'm always interested in a why. You know, in a Muslim home, there's no such thing as homosexuality. And I remember being on a basketball team in high school. All my friends, all of my teammates were lesbians, you know, identified as gay. Yeah. And that wasn't an easy decision for them, you know. And I remember I went home to my mother and I said, what would you do if I was gay? Like, I don't prep you for the conversation. I just come out and, you know, and my mother said, you wouldn't live in my house. Damn. And I said, you would kick me out your house as a 15-year-old because I'm gay? And she was like, no, she told, you know, she said every way that you could say it was haram, you know what I'm saying? Everything. And I was like, but what, I don't choose that. Like, you know, I wanted to understand, you know, how people could be condemned for, and I don't mean gay people, I mean how you could be condemned for maybe the way you were born, I don't know, or the choices that you make. You know, like I'd never disown my kid because they chose to not be married and be a, I don't know what's up, and be an artist, you know, and be a dancer versus going and getting 5 degrees and being a doctor. I would never put those restraints on my child.
Yeah. And I love seeing just how passionate you are about even analyzing your own career, and it shows in your work ethic. Have you ever met anyone that was intimidated by that work ethic or by your success?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, you know, some of my failed relationships have probably been, you know, part of it is a result of the intimidation. But the thing about it is, you know, people are intimidated, they don't tell you they're intimidated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you find out because some other symptom comes through, you know. It's like, oh my God, why are you telling me that I am nothing? Oh, you're intimidated by me.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
The insecurity comes out, right?
Yeah. Most people who can say like they're intimidated by you, that means that they're vulnerable enough to acknowledge it and appreciate the thing that makes you, you know, strong, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that by you staying so busy, maybe you haven't been able to, like, that almost makes it harder to have a stable relationship? Have you ever met someone that was like, you know what, I'd appreciate it if you dialed back a little bit?
No, and I'm gonna just be completely transparent. I ain't never been that busy. You know how people be like, I'm so busy. Like, no, I talk to my friends. I do Zooms. I get on Instagram.
Yeah.
I got time. Listen, I look forward to the day, inshallah, where I really have to, like, oh my God, guys, I have to disconnect from the world because I've just been so busy. I look forward to that because that means that, you know, Allah has blessed me to, you know what I'm saying? Like that, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
No, and people to be like, I just be so busy. I just, you know,
And
you do what you want.
Exactly.
And just own that this is not a choice that you wanted to make, and that's okay. I was in a whole long distance relationship, which was difficult, but the reason why we didn't work out had nothing to do with the distance.
Yeah. People make time for what they want to make priorities for. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So I want to tell you a saying, a statement that my grandmother used to say this, and it's become kind of my mantra. Before I tell you my interpretation of it, I'm going to tell you what the saying is. So I want to know what your interpretation of it is. So the saying is, innovation is rewarded, but execution is worshipped. Innovation is rewarded, but execution is worshipped. So I kind of wanted to know what that statement would mean to you and how important is execution in your life and career. Innovation is, to me, creativity, right? And when I think about it, it's like, it's not enough to be creative. You know, Steve Jobs could create the iPhone. Whoever created this computer, it can kind of stay in your garage. It can stay in your idea phase. But execution, to me, is the only thing that can separate those who are successful from those that could have been successful. So I've always looked at it as like, it's not enough for me to have a great idea or a great concept. I guess it's more like, has execution, is that something in your life that you've, that's been important? Do you think in your career, like how important is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to, I mean, yes, it's great to think, but you have to act, you know? And with no action comes no results. I would probably add like a little caveat to your grandmother's statement, like, you know, and then I don't know, some form of like, and then to execute consistently is, you know, I don't know.
How do you find yourself executing or being consistent in, you know, finding relationships? What's your outlet? Is it dating apps at all, or?
No, I do not do dating apps.
I know some people that have some successful marriages off dating apps. People, they get bad reps. Dating apps get bad reps, but I know 2 marriages off dating apps.
The thing is that, you know, I'm not well enough, you know, I'm not super known or anything where people really recognize me. Do you feel that if you were to get on a dating app, some people would just be kind of fanning a little bit or just want to say that they took you out? Like, why is the dating app sort of a turnoff?
I think now that would happen, I think that like that's new, you know, like people could recognize, I could be a recognizable face on a dating app or in a comedy club, and you know, That's not the reason why I'm not on dating apps. I'm not on dating apps because I like the idea of someone having the courage enough to approach me in person. I want you to be inspired when you see me and then act on it. I want you to have the idea, to bring back, what you said, Moses. I want you to have the idea and then I want you to take action. A lot of times, and I think dating apps, I think they, and this is no shade to them because I do know successful marriages that have come from dating apps. It's just that it takes all the excitement out of
it kind of does.
Yeah, it's just like I don't, it's the reason why when I do start like seeing somebody, I tend to not go on their Instagram and stuff like that. I don't really want to know you through what you post. I want to see what do you like when we sit and have a conversation? How quick can you respond? Your posts seem really witty. Like, I want to know if you are witty in person because that's what matters to me.
Do you see yourself, is that a requirement to find a Muslim man, or are you kind of at this point sort of open?
Okay, so I've always been open.
Okay.
I would love a Muslim man, like as much as I didn't, as much as there were certain aspects of dating this foreign person that I didn't really like, what I really liked about him was that he was Muslim. And again, it felt very, I felt very connected to somebody who believed the same thing as me. But also, as I said earlier, Moses, there was a shorthand, and so it's just about communication. But again, he had a certain level of arrogance that it's like, I didn't really like being Muslim as a kid. And I didn't really like being Muslim as a kid. It's not specific to Islam. It's just like any religion. I don't think that adults really teach kids about a faith or ask kids what they want to believe. For some reason, like religion seems to be synonymous with morale or moral compass, but it doesn't have to be, right? So I know people who don't identify as any religion, but they are the most integral, honest, respectful, hardworking, kind, charitable, intelligent, keep going with all that, you know what I'm saying? And that's actually what I want. I don't want you to be making prayer 5 times a day and beating my ass, forgive my language. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that that's what Muslim men do. I'm just saying I don't want you beating the Bible and then having relationships outside of our home. So for me, it's not so much that you're required to be the same religion as me, but I would like for our beliefs as they relate to morals to be in line with one another.
Okay. Now, would you say you subscribe or unsubscribe if you're in a relationship and I guess I mean a marriage? Would you subscribe or unsubscribe to the concept of leadership? And in the way in which lately I've been reading a lot of different articles and having conversations with people where there's this salacious stigma around the concept of a woman, I guess, quote unquote, being led in her marriage, the husband being the leader of the home, where there's 2 sides of the argument. So are you someone that if you're in a relationship kind of conceding that leadership, not in a sense in the salaciousness comes in where people think you're meaning I control you and I own you or rule you, but just the leadership of a man in a relationship, in a marriage as the head of the household? Do you subscribe or unsubscribe?
Absolutely. I want a man to be a man. I want to feel like he's in, how else can you lead but by example, right? You never have to worry about the salaciousness of that conversation for me, right? Because leading doesn't mean control. Leading doesn't mean that I have no say. Leading doesn't mean that you just tell me what to do. I'm just at your, that's not what that means. And that's not what my father was the leader of our house, but he could not have done anything without my mother. Do you know what I'm saying? There's just no way he could not have lived his life with us without my mother, although he was very much undeniably the leader. Also, and this is just a FYI, it's a PSA. Yo, if I'm pulling in $500,000 and you got 38,000 on the books, King. Sorry. And I don't want to say that money decides, money dictates. You know what I think is such a funny, it's such an interesting conversation because we also have very present day conversations using terms and ideals that came from a time when women could not even legally have jobs. Legally, they couldn't be out in the street without a man. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain countries, as we still know, where you can legally, you can legally be raped because you're not out with a man. You know what I'm saying? And so I think in order to really have an intelligent and useful and solution oriented conversation regarding this topic, there has to be context. You know what I'm saying? There has to be context and an openness for nuance because there's a lot of it.
Now, do you think society, either society, cultures, or religion, has created a stigma around that concept, though, of what you just said of, okay, and if you have a woman that's hypothetically making $500,000 and a man making $40,000, that, you know, the expectation is he needs to kind of rise to that occasion. But just for the sake of argument, on the opposite side, if you have a man making $500,000 and a woman in a relationship making $40,000, there's not the same expectation for her to rise to that.
But there actually is. $300,000, let's just say, right? That's what's required to finance our life. And then for 9 months at minimum, I have to sit down. How are we gonna maintain this life? With your 35K, King, how? So this isn't about speaking down to you. This is about how are we going to do this if I'm not doing it? And when you figure that out, that's you leading us.
Heavy.
Yeah.
I like that. I think one of the things that's interesting is that I read this book once. It was called, ironically, Divorce Saved My Marriage, right? And it was written from a Christian perspective, but very poignant. And basically, both parties were talking about how in their divorce, they were then able to reestablish and re-identify each other's roles in the relationship that they had in the marriage. Meaning the husband was able to see the things in which that at first he had gripe with his wife about, but now that he had to cover those things, he was like that these are roles that she was manifesting, taking care of the kids. They in the bed every night. She has these schedules, their homework, cooking, cleaning. Then the wife on the other end was able to understand and respect the things her husband was doing, because now she's taking the trash out. I guess these traditional roles and maintaining and, you know, the household. So within the divorce, they reestablish each other's roles, and that actually saved the relationship. Now, I'm not, of course, advising people to go out and get a divorce, but I think that if you can, within a relationship, be able to identify the role, to your point, that a woman does play with, like, and that has value, equivalent to monetary value of being able to maintain a home, raise children, you know. So I think it's important for both people in a relationship to recognize and value each other's roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I mean, you know, it's an oversimplification. When I put monetary value on it, it's an oversimplification.
Right.
But the reality is that we do have roles. Yo, the world would be a very different place if men can get pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
That's a movie.
That one thing that, I mean, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger tried to do it like 30 years ago. I think there's a lot of gray in our roles, but I do think that two things. One, there should be expectations. You know, there should be expectations.
Absolutely.
From a man in his role as a man of the house, and a woman and being the woman of the house. But I also think that those expectations have to be known. You have to be on the same page. I also see relationships that work where, you know, the roles have reversed, meaning like the woman is the breadwinner, right? The father is the man is the stay-at-home father. But I don't think that means like I don't think that means the expectations in terms of like, I still expect protection from you. You get what I'm saying? I still expect decision making from you. I still expect you lead the actual chores that go along with a certain role are very different from a certain expectation. Like people say taking the trash out, that's very, I don't know. What if he has an allergy to latex? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like that's not like, I people expect the woman to cook. Every relationship I've ever been in, the man has cooked. It's been great. You know, like I somehow luck upon guys who like chefing it up, you know, but that works for me. That works for me. But I don't at all now feel like now I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that when a woman cooks for you means that you can tell her what to do. You get what I'm saying?
We definitely have the roles, and I think that they definitely are interchangeable. Because I mean, to that point, my father, he was a chef, and he did do all the cooking, and his father was a chef, and he did all the cooking. So I think some of these societal things of like, you know, the taking the trash out is this interchangeable things. But I think even down to like caring for the children, you know, there's a lot of fathers that that not just should, you know, they're involved in that. So, but you hit the nail on the head as far as expectations. I don't think that we should be shying away from having expectations in a relationship, even going in, even earlier when we talked about being able to have these boxes, right? If you have these boxes and the majority of these boxes are checked, there's no perfect person. There's no person that's going to check every single box that's going to be this tall, dark, and handsome and have you're going to have some things just because it's human nature that people have flaws and being honest about those flaws. But if you set your expectations on, these are my non-negotiables, you know what I mean? A man of faith or a man that's going to have a sense of humor, that you have great character, you have this, you have some sort of plan or stable income, or a woman that can X, Y, and Z. I think it's very important, man, to have those expectations and not be afraid to say what they are.
Yeah. You know what I think also is always left out of that conversation about like leadership, and this is beyond romance or beyond family life. There has to be a certain level of trust. Moses, for example, you have to trust that a woman that you choose will be what you believe to be a good mother for your children, right? That's the reason why I just want to make sure that I don't just lean on the monetary, somebody's like compensation, you know, somebody's like worth in terms of money, because there are very much men and women, but I'll stay with men who make so much money and they don't lead nobody nowhere because they're lost. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, just because you have money doesn't make you a leader. So it's like, let's just be realistic. Don't come in here and try and change me. I'm not for you. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we try and make people what we want them to be. And it's not. The harder thing is to, you know, sift through that pool and find the fish that's actually for you.
Yeah, you can't change no one, especially if they don't want to change themselves. If they don't see, if they don't see a reason that I think that they say how to know if it's real love is if you love who you are when you're with that person. So a person inspires you to then change in a way that you felt was in a positive direction. That's one thing, but yeah, you cannot manipulate. Love is not manipulation and control. Absolutely.